first was when I left off, I was having this back and forth with Hamish. Do you remember Hamish?
I remember the name, and I couldn't tell you the specifics of all the discussions, but
he was saying that the Lord is the only way that you can have morality, and we just went back and forth about it, and it wound up getting to veganism. And how can we be moral creatures and eat meat? And that kind of put me in a weird position because it never really interested me enough as a subject to investigate it, right? And so I looked at the facts. The facts are that I value animal life more than human life. I eat meat and I don't feel guilty about it.
Wait, you value animal life more than human life?
Or other way around. I value
Although
human
we
life
are
more than
animals.
animal life.
So
You
value human life over non-human life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which isn't to say that I'm a monster, right? If I had the chance to save the last polar bear, I would.
Yeah.
But what does that mean about me, and how am I
You're
internally
fine.
consistent about that? Yeah, and so when I looked it up, I thought, okay, I'm speciesist.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And then,
Which now, congratulations, you're now going to get the ethical vegan.
oh, we've been getting them already. Yeah, no, it's all right.
I'm probably going to do a video for the Atheist Debates thing, roughly talking about this, because in the 14 years I've done the Atheist Experience, the subjects come up, a handful of times, and mostly what happens is somebody calls in and they present their arguments, and my job is to take those arguments apart.
Right.
And point out what's wrong with them, where they went right, where they went wrong, to explain why I don't agree. That is not the same as I'm now putting forward what my position is. That would be a brief talk or a lecture.
Yeah.
I have not put forward in any concise sense what my view is on morality as it relates to non-human animals, et cetera. I didn't want to take the calls on the Atheist Experience quite often because it doesn't have anything to do with atheism. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. Now, saying that, it does have something to do with morality, if you're talking about veganism from an ethical standpoint.
Yeah.
It certainly has value in discussion and debate. But the real thing is that not everybody on the Atheist Experience, or perhaps even on Talk Heathen, has the same view and agrees. Right. And so as the public face of the Atheist Experience when I'm on it, I need to make sure that I'm representing the ACA's position statements. Yeah. And that if I'm departing from, what the consensus is, to make sure people know I'm speaking on behalf of me. That Jen, Russell, Tracy, Martin, Jeff, whoever, Don, they don't necessarily share that view.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I would prefer to keep calls on the show within the realm of religion.
Well, it worked its way there, and I think that it really struck a chord with me because it's a rabbit hole that I just did not know was there, and it goes deep.
Yeah, and there's guys,
it goes really deep.
Even this week, there's a guy who put together a 30-minute video tearing apart a call I did. And I watched a minute and 45 seconds, and in the first minute and 45 seconds, he'd already poisoned the well and made assumptions. He's like, oh, I can see that Matt doesn't want to discuss this. Maybe it's because, he goes on to, I guess, try to guess why I didn't want to discuss it. And the real reason is, one, as I stated before, I wanted to keep the show primarily about atheism, religion, et cetera. And the other one is that every time we've had an ethical vegan call to make their case, it's fallacy-ridden, it is emotional pleas, or we just fundamentally disagree on an aspect of morality, but we can't discuss that fine point of disagreement because it's just, oh, you're fine with, eating meat. And I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Just seen today on Twitter, there's a guy, Veganism is Unstoppable, I think is his Twitter handle.
Oh, I'm sure he's losing his shit right now.
And maybe. And he tweeted out something about, oh, do you have a moral obligation to not have dogfights, like in your backyard? And whoever he was talking to was like, yes. And he's like, then, your moral view is going to crumble if it doesn't lead to veganism from there. So here's the thing. Veganism is not eating meat. That is separate from why you don't eat meat.
Right.
Okay? So they would argue, oh, it's about harm. Well, my morality is not based on any simple understanding of harm, because sometimes harm may actually be a net moral good. I mean, you could argue when you're performing a tracheotomy, you are doing harm, but you are doing harm to save a life, et cetera. So we went from the dogfight in the backyard to factory farming of animals and to veganism. Well, you can't do that, because I could be opposed to dogfights, I could be opposed to factory farming. In fact, I am opposed to both of those things, and yet I am not a vegan, because the idea that therefore you shouldn't eat meat. You are conflating the eating of meat with how we got about getting the meat.
Right.
Which is why I ask about, roadkill. If I find roadkill, is it immoral for me to eat it? And you'll get two different answers. So if the caller that I'm talking to gives one answer, and I offer the rebuttals for why that's wrong, you can't take that call and say, here's the sum total of Matt's views on it, because we just went down this one rabbit hole with the caller. If the caller had said, no, there's nothing immoral about eating roadkill, okay, now we go down another one. So there needs to be an actual discussion, and it doesn't quite get there.
Well, I think that it can dovetail really well into situational ethics and evaluating any moral judgment based on its merits in context to what's going on.
Oh, there's one big mistake that they make that you pointed out early on. You value human life over non-human life.
Yeah.
You may be wrong to do that. I may be wrong to do that. But that's the current view that we both share. The fact that you value human life more than you value non-human life does not mean that you don't value non-human life.
Exactly. It's.
I like Beth more than I like you. That doesn't mean I don't like you.
I hope you like Beth more than you like me.
A little bit.
But I like you. I do, Matt. Yeah, I'm going to make you awkward. All right.
So I'm glad you brought that up. What I'm probably going to do, and this will partially be based on feedback, my Atheist Debates project, it's at patreon.com/atheistdebates. Every month I put out 3 videos. There'll be debates that I do, reviews of debates that I do, specific treatments of arguments for the existence of God, tips and tricks for how to better defend a position, mistakes that we make, mistakes that atheists make. I will probably, I'm thinking this week or next week, outline my view of morality as it relates to food.
That you're going to get hate no matter what.
Yeah, but at least this way they will have, because what's happening right now is somebody will show a clip from the show.
Yeah.
And some of the ethical vegans, I'm not saying all of you are bad or stupid or irrational or whatever, but some of them will take that clip and go, oh, this is, one of them called it absolute retardation. Just start off with the name calling, and this is ridiculous, and this,
Yeah, that's how you start a good, well-reasoned argument, right?
People who have no demonstrated ability to debate and no demonstrated expertise in morality, but they go down that track. So what I'd like to do is at least give them, here's a video. This is what Matt thinks, the how and the why. And that way, if they want to point out flaws in that would actually be closer to a discussion between the two of us than pointing out objections to my objections to somebody else's point.
Well, and it's not that interesting. It's really not. When you're following and just doing that, it's much nicer to have an organic call and let it go down that rabbit trail.
And I'm not doing debates on Twitter, and I'm not doing back and forth debates on YouTube. You post a video, I post a video.
Yeah.
Sorry for all of you who absolutely love YouTube culture. I despise that.
But I'm actually glad you got to plug Atheist Debates.
Yeah.
If for those of you fans of Talk Heathen who don't know, this is Matt Dillahunty. He's getting there. He's working his way up in the atheist community. Yeah, anything we can do to help plug him would be fantastic. So give him a shot. Take a look.